could have a superpower, what would you pick? Now, don't say it out loud, but think that through. What would you pick as your superpower? I'll list a few things, but you got to interact with me here a little bit. Anybody pick X-ray vision, to have X-ray vision? You know, that used to be a thing way back when, but anybody? No, I didn't think so. What about super strength? You know, like lifting cars and stuff like that. Anybody? Come on. All right, there's some super strength people. What about super speed? You know, you can run 1,000 miles an hour or something. Anybody? Not a big deal? I bet I'll get some on this one. What about flying? Yeah, that's me right there. Anybody mind reading? Want to be mind readers? Want that to be your superpower? That is the last thing. I do not want to know what's going on in your heads. You don't want to know what's going on in mine either, probably. What about invisibility? Anybody want to be invisible? Is there anybody invisible in the room right now that you can just say something out loud? So I want to flip that last one a little bit here, because have you ever felt invisible and didn't want to be? You know what I'm talking about? You walk into a meeting and nobody says hey. Nobody looks you in the eye, and you're like, am I here? Can they see me? Or you walk into a fitness class of some sort and nobody greets you. Nobody acknowledges that you exist. Like, am I invisible? Or worst possible scenario, you walk into a church and nobody says a word to you. Oh my gosh, that's something we really, really try to avoid here. But here's the thing. Proverbs talks about not the superpower of being invisible. Proverbs talks about the superpower of seeing people who are marginalized, who the world does not necessarily want to see. Now, that's where we are today, right? We're continuing in the series that we've been in for several weeks called Hey Younger Me. And the kind of the play that we're looking at here is, you know, you get into the DeLorean, the time machine, and you go back in time and you talk to your younger self. What would you tell your younger self, you know, about relationships, about life, about all the stuff that we've touched upon so far? What would you tell your younger self? And for you young people, you flip it, right? The time machine goes into the future, and you're telling your future self, hey, don't forget what you learned when you were younger about Proverbs and wisdom, and because Proverbs is all about how to be wise, and it tells you over and over again. I hope you're reading it, or we'll continue to read it, or start reading it if you haven't, but it says over and over that wisdom is more valuable than silver and gold and precious gems. Seek it above all else. And it also talks about foolishness. Avoid folly, avoid foolishness, and names what foolishness looks like. Proverbs keeps coming back to this. As you read, you'll see this. If you want wisdom, not just knowledge, right? We're not talking about just knowledge. We're not talking about just information. But if you want wisdom, the kind of wisdom that makes life flow and connect, then wisdom shows up in compassion. That's what we're really looking at today, compassion, especially compassion toward the poor. And that's the phrase that as you read, you'll hear that phrase a lot, the poor. And we need to unpack it a little bit, because when it talks about poor, it isn't talking about financially poor. It is definitely, that's included in that, but being poor in Proverbs' view is a much wider umbrella. It covers people who, are sick, who are lonely. That's a form of poverty according to Proverbs. People who are grieving, aging, addicted, imprisoned, left out, unseen. People who are basically easy targets for neglect. The poor. And Proverbs, shockingly, is very direct, shockingly direct about how God feels about that. Check this out, Proverbs 14:31. Whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker. Wow. Can it be more direct than that? But whoever's kind to the needy honors God. And what this is telling us, and this is one of several we're going to look at, what this is telling us is that the way we treat vulnerable people is not just a human issue, it is a God issue. And God's like, I take it personally how you treat the poor in your midst. And then, of course, Jesus, how did he put it? Do you remember the parable of the sheep and the goats? And he's like, I was hungry and you fed me, and I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink, and I was naked and you clothed me, and I was sick and in prison and you came to see me. And the people are like, when did we see you like that? And he's like, and when did we help you? He's like, whenever you help those in need, you were helping me. I was right there. And then Proverbs flips this with a promise. It says, whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and God will reward them for what they have done. In other words, when you show compassion to somebody, I mean, this is one of those powerful proverbs. when you show compassion to somebody, it's like God saying, I see what you have done, and that kindness will come back to you. Now, we got to be careful here, right? This isn't some form of I'm going to give so I can get. I'm going to be nice so that I can get something in return. No. It's aligning our hearts with God. But what does cultivating compassion look like? And one of the things that Proverbs does is it's very practical. What does it look like to live out compassion? Check this out. Proverbs 28:27 says, whoever gives to the poor will lack nothing, but whoever closes their eyes to them receives many curses. Now, it's talking about those who close their eyes to the poor. So by implication, what does it mean to have compassion? It means to open your eyes. To open your eyes to the needs of people around you. Open your eyes. See. Choose to see. Choose not to look away. And here's what I realize is that I think every person that I know of who has a real compassionate heart, they can tell you the time and the place when their eyes were opened. They can tell you. And in fact, I can tell you when it was for me, at least the first time I remember. I'm in 7th grade. And my church at the time, I went to Warrensburg First United Methodist Church growing up. And so I was in 7th grade, and we had a mission project. And the mission project was for us to go help people in the community clean up their homes, inside and out. And like a bunch of kids our age knew what we were doing. But, garbage bags and some 409 and a roll of paper towels is pretty much what we had. And my brother and I and a couple of other students, we are sent to this house of this woman. We did not know her. She did not know us. And she needs some help cleaning. We get in the house, and it has trash just packed. It's high, almost as tall as we were at the time. And there were pathways that went from the kitchen to the couch to the bathroom, those almost like tunnels through her house. And I remember just every time we would move some stuff to throw it away, about 10 or 15 roaches would skitter out from underneath all that. We went back several days to do what we could to help her out. But what I realized there is, as I saw somebody who was so deeply lonely and neglected, somebody who was unseen in so many ways. Happened again to me in 1988. That is the summer I was an intern at 2 little churches in North Carolina. And one Saturday, I helped with student ministries there, and one Saturday we took the students to a soup kitchen in Greensboro. It's a small city in North Carolina. I'd never been to a soup kitchen before. First time I'd seen people in that level of poverty, homelessness, and had a chance to talk to them. I remember being so hesitant, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I could say anything to them, and somebody had to coach me a little bit. And this is how you talk to them, and they're people. But I saw, right, for the first time, and that changed me. Then the next time I remember having my eyes opened, I was working as another internship in I was a chaplain in Duke University Medical Center. This is while I was in seminary, and the floor that I was assigned to was kind of a general medical floor. I don't know what the name of the unit I was in, but it had people that were recovering from illnesses and people that were dying from illnesses. And there was one young man dying of AIDS. I'd never seen that before. And there was one woman who was there who had been diagnosed with lupus, didn't know what that was, but she'd been untreated for so long that her fingers and her toes and big patches of skin were dying. And I remember being so scared of looking at her hands, because her hands literally, her fingers looked like they were mummified. And you know what? She was there for months. And I would stop in and see her, and we would talk, and she would tell stories, and we would pray and laugh, and every once in a while she'd just break out in song. I saw something I never knew that was possible. I remember it happening again, me seeing for the first time. It happened again when I went to jail for the very first time. To visit. It was to visit. I know you're wondering, you probably were thinking, yeah, I knew he had a past. But a church member, called and was like, can you come see me? I'm just so broken. So I went to the jail, county jail. And he was hurting, and he was so ashamed. And Wow, you see, right? You see things. The first time I went to Nicaragua, saw a level of poverty firsthand that I could never have even really imagined. Every time I opened my eyes to those who were marginalized, it was like I could hear God saying, I'm not saying that literally, but it was like I could hear God saying, Aaron, this changes everything, doesn't it? Because now you've seen. You've seen. Every time you truly see somebody's reality, it changes you. That's why Proverbs describes a passionate person like this. It says this, Proverbs 31:20, she opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. So do you see the movement here? Open eyes, open arms, extended hands. You see it? Open eyes, got to see. Open arms, extended hands. And the call of Proverbs, it's not the call of Proverbs, it's the call of God, right? For people that say, yeah, God, I want to follow. Or Christians, Jesus, I want to follow. The call is this becomes a lifestyle. Choose to see, open arms, extended hands. And here's the great thing about this way of life is that has been a way of life for Woods Chapel since it started 50 years ago. It has been on this mission to say, well, what we do is not about gathering like this. What we do is ultimately about sending us out of here to go help people to see, open arms, extended hands, and make a difference in our community and in our world. And we do that every day. It's who we are. But here's what's happening today. Today is another step, another part of us as a church living that out. Today matters because we're starting this partnership, launching this partnership with Children's HopeChest in Guatemala in a specific village called El Paraíso, which means paradise. And we're talking about sponsorship, and sponsorship at its core is living out this proverb superpower. Now, sponsorship means seeing one child, knowing one child's name, and making a difference through that one child into an entire community. So how did all this begin? We've been talking about this launch for quite a while. It began practically in October. I went with 3 other people from our church to go to Guatemala to see, it really was kind of just to see if Children's HopeChest was the right match for us as a congregation and our pull toward international mission. And so what we did in our visit there in October was we visited 3 communities, or as they call them, HopeChest calls them care points. Calls them care points. We visited 3. The first one had been a part of HopeChest for 7 years. So they had an established leadership team. They had a community center that they had built. And in that community center, there was discipleship happening. There were training programs happening. Meals were being served. Leadership development was happening out of that place. It was amazing to see. We got to hear from 3 young people that had been a part of the program since its inception. And all 3 of them are now entrepreneurs. Started their own businesses. One young woman had started, and they presented all this to us in English and working on her English at the same time. One young woman had started her own event planning business, and she was a caterer. She catered the lunch that we had that day. One young man had started a foreign language school there, teaching English and kind of also had just started teaching Japanese. Like, wow, he was training interpreters for all kinds of different things that go on. We met a woman who, through HopeChest, had gotten her first flock of chickens? That doesn't sound right. Is that right? A bunch of chickens. And was selling the eggs. In fact, she was a part of a cooperative of other people that were selling eggs. And then in that cooperative, they also had a group of people that were making cleaning supplies. Laundry soap, hand soap, and so they had a small storefront in a nearby small city where that cooperative was selling those sorts of things. And so you get what I'm talking about, right? That when HopeChest comes in and sponsorship happens like this, it affects an entire community where they become independent and they're able to sustain life. We visited another care point. That was in a small city, and we met in a church there. So when we arrived, they were rocking it, like, oh my gosh, this church has it going on. And so we worshiped with them. That was super cool. And then we met the potential leaders. This was a potential care point. we met their leaders, people that were there to say, hey, we need help and we're willing to partner with you. We really want to partner with you. And so we got to meet the leaders and heard their stories through interpreters. We played games with the kids. There were a whole bunch of kids there, so we played these games and had a blast. We were so worn out, so tired after playing all these games, but we had fun, and we met the kids, right? And then after that, they performed for us. Some of the people in the church performed for us. And while that was going on, there was a kid there, boy, probably about 7, 8 years old. I got a picture of him. And so the music's going on, he comes up to me, reaches into his pocket, and he hands me a marble. And so, I like, oh my gosh, that's a beautiful marble. And I hand it back to him. And he's like, no. And he like puts it in my hand like it's for me. It was a gift for me. And so, I'm so thank you. And I show it to one of our team members who's standing next to me. Like, he just gave me a marble and didn't give you one. That's so cool. And then a minute later, he comes up to me. He's got another one. He says, here's another one. Like I think he's thinking, it made this guy so happy. I'm going to give him another one. And then he gave me another one. And then there are a couple other of his buddies that were there. And they walk over and they're like, hey, here, we want you to have some too. I don't know why. I don't know what it was. I didn't need cheering up or what. But I got 10 marbles from these kids. And so we finished our time there at that care point. We loaded up in the van. And I told our leader from Children's HopeChest, like, man, look at all these marbles the boys gave me. And he's like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, why, what? He's like, those marbles are their prized possessions. He said, never seen this happen before. And I'm like, wow, I feel responsible for something now. I gave a marble to everybody that was there. There were 3 churches that had gone on this trip with us. So it was 10 of us total, so I gave everybody a marble and said, let's let this be our prayer prompt for this care point. And then I realized this, that the marble represents more than just a prayer prompt. It's a desire. It's not just us going to help people that are in need. It's them saying, what can we do for you? We want to pray for you. We have skills and we have assets that we can help you with. They're not such tangible assets, but we can help you live better lives too, as you help us live better lives. Like, wow, that marble, that's going to be with me for a long time. The care point at El Periso was different than that, and it's where our hearts were really ultimately drawn. It's a rural community and very impoverished. We met with the leaders that were there, and the leadership team included men and women and representatives from 4 different churches, which it was pretty amazing to see that. They're ready. They're in deep poverty. They're ready to work. They're ready to build friendships. There are several vacant buildings right there in the village that can be and become a community center, feeding center, clinic, right there. And we have an opportunity, right? And by the way, this isn't about guilt. And this isn't about give so that you can get. Proverbs is not teaching prosperity tricks. It's teaching about alignment, aligning our hearts with the heart of God. And God has a special heart and concern for the vulnerable. So here in just a moment, you're going to hear a story about what it means to be seen and what can happen when compassion becomes personal. So I want to invite Atkelt Simon to come join me. Come on up here, Atkelt. Let's give him some claps. Please have a seat, my friend.
Thank you.
Atkelt is the Strategic Partnership Director at Children's HopeChest. He lives in Colorado Springs. We had dinner last night. Took him to Jack's Stack to get some real barbecue.
It was good.
Good stuff there. But he's been a part of Children's HopeChest for 7 years now. But HopeChest is only one part of his story. I want you to tell them the first part of your story.
Thank you, Pastor Aaron. It was wonderful to be here with you all. And I grew up in Ethiopia, in Africa, in a very impoverished community. So, my story that I wanted to share with you is a time when a sponsorship organization came into our community through our local church. And so when the opportunity was, extended, there were a lot of families, wanted to be a part of it because there was a lot of poverty. Hundreds of families flooded into the church. And the church was a warehouse, big warehouse, and it was full of people, of families who wanted to take the opportunity. And my family was one of those families. And my mom actually took me and my two sisters to be, enrolled in the program. And they told her, there are a lot of families, since you can take only one child. And so she got me registered. But then we had to wait, because there were a lot of families that had, limited space, right? And so there were, I remember the person going name by name, calling names, of
they had
the
a list,
judges.
so they're reading.
Yes, a list, it was going down. And I was just waiting, would I be seen? Would I be a part of this? Would I be a part of this opportunity? And finally, my name was called, and I remember the excitement, the joy I felt that I was chosen to be in that program. I felt seen, and that was, as a 9-year-old, like I didn't exactly know what that meant, like how that's going to unfold, but it did fill my heart with a lot of hope in I'm going to have a better future. So a few days later, a few weeks later, at the end of our discipleship class, I was told that there is a family who wants to sponsor you, and their name is Gillian and Derek Turner from England.
From England?
Yes, from England. And so I was very happy. I started writing letters to them, and they wrote back to me. I was one of those kids who were like waiting, to see if they have written a letter to me. And so they were committed to me for 9 years until I finished high school. Wow. And what you are wondering, what is this blue folder that he's holding? It's letters that they have written to me. I still have these letters because they are filled with a lot of prayer and encouragement and hope. They were my cheerleaders as I was going through life. And so, we believe in you. We are with you. We are walking alongside you. So this very special family, they made me, feel as I was one of their child. And so there were people in the program, right, that cared for us and, spoke truths into our lives. But my sponsor's voice was special to me because they didn't have to do this. They were thousands of miles away. They're not in my community. But they said yes when God presented the opportunity, when they saw my picture, and when they said yes, their response changed my life. And so I paid attention to the things that they wrote in the letters. Yeah.
And that sponsorship allowed a lot of opportunities to unfold for you.
Absolutely.
That would bring you to a place where you have a full-time career doing what was done
I was
for you.
inspired by that. I was inspired by what they have done for me. And now through Children's HopeChest, I'm an advocate for vulnerable children, thousands of vulnerable children around the world, including, children at El Parisio today. And so, it's just, I might not have been in front of you today if it hadn't been for my sponsors in England.
Well, let's talk about El Parisio. The care point there. What is the purpose of the care point, so that folks know?
Right. So if we start with the challenges, right, in the community. So
what are the challenges in Guatemala?
It's right in Guatemala. Guatemala is a beautiful place, wonderful people, vibrant culture, but also is one of the most impoverished in Central America, as you may know. And the families that we work with, struggle day to day to meet, their basic needs. But two things that affect our children in Guatemala. One is malnutrition, chronic malnutrition, which causes child stunting, long-term effect. Child stunting. So it would have a long-term impact on the children if it's not addressed. So that's something that a lot of vulnerable children in Guatemala face. The other is education. Education is, as you all understand, is very important. But in those communities, by after 6th grade, a lot of children would drop out of school. And as you go on to secondary, a huge percentage would not continue and pursue the dreams that they have, and their potential would not be released because they are held back into doing, labor work, and so that exposes them to all sorts of things, right? With just a lot of things that would happen that would hold them back. And So because of that, that's what we work to address in their community. And so our programs are, like we have discipleship and education and healthcare and life skill, vocational trainings and all that would help the children, right, succeed, carry on, and pursue their dreams. But what I love about the HopeChest model is it just doesn't stop with the children, but extends to their families. Because if you recall, my mom went with 3 kids, right? And so if she's empowered, then she can support the whole family. And that's what we do through Children's HopeChest, basic financial education, job creation, income generation, so that the whole family is lifted up. It doesn't even stop there. I love that it goes beyond that, because Pastor Aaron, you were talking about those 4 pastors and community leaders, right? And so the Care Point will turn into a community-based organization. There's a plan, there's an exit strategy. So we're not creating dependency in that community, but we're empowering them. We're coming alongside them long term, that they can do it on their own.
Yeah, I hope y'all caught that there is an exit strategy. This is not something that it happens forever, but there's a plan, and when the community the Care Point can support itself, then move on.
Yes.
So what's the big difference about Children's HopeChest from other ways of doing it?
Yes, and so the child sponsorship, we call it friendship, just emphasizing on the relationship of it. It's a unifying experience. So you are all invited to be a part of this in one, coming alongside a specific place in Guatemala, El Parisio. So this is a unifying experience, and you get to build a relationship with the children through letter writing, just the same way that my sponsors did. You get to do that. But that community-to-community approach allows you to go there year after year, 2 times a year, to actually be there in person and build relationship and learn from them, as you were saying. So that makes it really tangible that you are going to be there and spending time with them.
People don't have to go visit, but they can.
Right. That's an opportunity. Yes, that's an opportunity for you. And you get to build a relationship. You get to have a child to pray for, to encourage, to cheer as they, continue their journey.
Yeah. So now the big thing is you might be able to actually go, save your pennies and go on a trip.
Right.
So,
yes.
The other thing is the friendship model is different.
That's different. That's very different.
How kids get in the program. Tell them about that.
Yes. So that's also something that really excites me. That traditionally, right, you would have pictures of children, vulnerable children, and you go and choose the child that you want to sponsor. That's how it's been done. But with the Children's HopeChest model, we will actually have the children choose. And today, what you would be doing, as you say yes to be a friend to a child, would be collecting all your pictures, right? And we'll take you to Guatemala, to El Parisio, and the children would choose you. And you imagine the feeling that I felt, right, when I learned that I would be in the program. It even goes beyond that now, because now we are giving that choice and voice, to the children, and so empowering. And it's something that really excites me when I think about the children.
We've got a video.
French.
We want to show you what that looks like in action. Take a look.
¿Cuántos años tenés? 7. I am 7 years old.
Los elegí porque se veían muy amables y me gustaría conocerlos pronto. Adiós.
excited that we get to pray for you and that you're part of our life.
And we're excited that you chose us.
We're so excited that you chose us.
Pretty cool, huh? So here's our goal, is that we as a congregation would sponsor 75 children. And what that looks like, $45 a month, long term. You know, this is, again, not meant to be a short-term thing, but a long-term thing that is built on connection and friendship. What'll happen next is, if you choose to sponsor, you can go right out these doors and you'll scan a QR code. You can either upload a picture, if you want a fresh one, we've got a photo booth, we can get your picture out there. And then there are 4 of us that are going to be going back to Guatemala the first week of March, and we're going to take all that with us, and there's going to be a match party there, and we'll get to be a part of it. And you saw how it happens. Those children will pick you. And
You'll tell them who was chosen first or last?
What's that?
Will you tell them who was chosen first or last?
Oh, I won't tell you who was chosen first or last, but I will know. And you know, one of the things that we've heard most is like, what if I don't get picked? What if a child does not pick me? A child will pick you. This is not like 4th grade kickball, you know, but a child will pick you. And then what will happen is once that match party happens there, we'll come back here, and shortly after that, we'll have another party where it's a reveal party where you will know what child picked you and begin your friendship with them. So that's really what today is all about, is after this, you know, we're living out Proverbs is what we're really trying to do, living out the Proverbs, but you can walk out those doors and there's a place where you can sign up and get set up and start this relationship and making a difference in the world. Mm-hmm. What last things do you have to share with us?
Yeah, I'm excited for this opportunity for you, and you know, I encourage you to say yes to invest in hope. And you wouldn't believe how God would use your yes, you know, to make a difference to eternity, you know. And I don't know if my sponsors would know when they said yes, how that would impact my life and how I could be here in God's economy, you know, in God's kingdom. He uses that in powerful ways. And so I'm really excited for you to being a part of this. Thank you for allowing me to share my story, and yeah, God bless you. I appreciate that.
Atkelt's going to be around if you want to talk to him, get more specifics, and we have a lot of volunteers out there that can also answer questions. But let's do this. Thank you, Atkelt.
God bless you. Love you, brother. Thank you.
Love you too. So the movement in Proverbs is open eyes, open arms, hands extended. And that isn't just Proverbs, that's Jesus too, right? We just happen to be studying Proverbs, and that's Jesus too. But as we go out into this week, we're remembering these things and we're living them out. Compassion is a part of wisdom. And for today, that is the good news. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen.